עושה 4K?
Okay, 4K HD. B'ezrat Hashem, Rabotay. Tonight we're a very special night. We have Chodesh Iyar. So today is the 30th of Nisan. Chodesh Iyar. B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to be learning L'Refuat Shlema Mazal Bat Lisa V'gam Avram Ben Batia V'gam Tamara Bat Devor, I think her name is. They should all see a Refuat Shlema B'Karov. They should get back to their life and stuff like that. רפואה שלמה.
על המתים, אוקיי.
רפואה שלמה.
רפואה שלמה למתים?
לא מערבבים.
רפואה שלמה למתים?
בסדר.
מה קרה?
לינוי בת אבשלום.
וגם התינוקת בת לינוי.
תינוקת ששמה בישראל תהילה.
Okay, what we should see only good stuff.
שם ותהילה.
Okay, what usually we start off with the Hashkafa period and then go to the halachic concepts. So let us start today from this beautiful sefer, the Rosh Hashiva, the sefer Einei Yisrael. So the Rosh Hashiva points out that there's a chazal that says.
What's the name of the Rosh Hashiva?
Rav Yishmael Belsky, Zecher Tzadik Lebracha. So Rosh Hashiva points out that there's 3 mitzvot in the Torah that Chazal say perhaps never was and never will be. Okay, so
one of them is Ben Soror Morel.
okay, so 2 people right away off the bat said Ben Soror Morel lo haya velo atid liot. Ben Soror never was, never will be. Very good. So you guys, this is Zachetz and Hedron. We learned it together here, right here on this table. 71a. Okay. Daf Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph. So Ir Nidachat.
מה קרה עם החאן?
Ir Nidachat lo ha'itza velo atida liot.
החאן זה לא עיר הנידחת?
Achan was.
He took from the...
No, that's Ir Nidachat. That was a Cherem special for Yericho. That's a different story. Okay. So you have Ir Nidachat, and what's the third? So you have 3 mitzvot. That lo haya, and there never will be. What's the third one? This week's parasha. What's this week's parasha? Bayit hamenuga. A house that gets tzarat.
Really?
Bayit. I'm going to read the Gemara. This is Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph in Sechet Sanhedrin. Bayit hamenuga lo haya velo atid liot.
הצהרה שאדם מקבל זה רק בסוף אחרי שמזהירים אותו על הבית ועל האבנים ועל הכל ועל הכל, ורק בסוף הוא מקבל צהרה. אז איך אין את ההקדמה הזאת?
Says a good question.
אדם לא מקבל צהרת מיד.
So Ari says that tzara doesn't come right away to the person. First it goes on his clothing, then his house, then on him. The Gemara says, Bait hamenuga lo haya velo atid liot. Now this is only one opinion in the Gemara.
על הבית, לא על הבן אדם.
No, but he's saying first it goes to the house before it goes to the person. That's what he's saying. First it goes on your expenses, your clothing, then your assets, and then on the person himself. Yeah. But anyway, this is one opinion in the Gemara that says, Bait hamenuga lo haya velo atid liot. So the Gemara asks on all these 3, on the Sorero Moreh, the Ir Hanidachat, and this Bait hamenuga, the Gemara asks, V'lama nichtav? Why is it written in the Torah something that never was and never will be? So the Gemara answers, what?
ללמוד תורה.
What's the lashon of the Gemara?
לקבל שכר.
Derosh v'kabal sechar. To be able to be darshaning and to be mikabel sechar. So the question is, what are we to be doresh from the Bait Hamenuga, from the house that gets sarat, that never was and never will be? What dirashot are we supposed to learn from there?
One of the drashot is Bnei Israel going to come to Eretz Israel and they're going to break the house or whatever and going to find a lot of
right.
things.
That's what's brought down by Chazal. But according to this Gemara, this never happened because it never was a Bait Hamenuga.
Exactly. I don't understand.
So right, because the Chazal say that the Midrashim say that the people in Canaan, when they heard the Jews were coming, they hid all the treasure in the walls, and then there was a neged saras, and then they brought it down.
It happened to their house, not to our houses.
No, once we took over their houses.
לא, אז הנגד הצהרת היה מגיע לבית כדי שיתפרק וכל הכסף יקחו.
כן, שימצאו את הכסף.
So never, you say it happened to their houses, not to the Jewish people's houses. Okay. All right. Anyway, let's take a look for a moment.
The minute you take over, it's your house.
No, they spoke Lashon Hara, maybe. That's what they called the Sarah to come to the walls, not the Am Israel.
He's saying that it wasn't the Jewish people's houses. They just took it over. It was still the Amorites' houses, and he broke them down. Anyway, there are different opinions in Chazal,
They have nothing to do with this one.
and the Rosh Yeshiva wants to get into what can we learn, because if it's Doresh Kabel Sechar, then what is to be Doresh from this mitzvah in the Torah that never happened and never will be. So let's take a look, Abotai. Says the Rosh Yeshiva, why does Tzarat come? So we know the Gemara in Erechin tells us
One of them is
a different list of different things, 7 things or so,
Yeah, one of them.
and one of them is Tzarat Ayin. What is this? Viewing others with a begrudging eye,
Stingy.
stinginess, but not just stinginess. A lot of people think Lashon Hara is someone said something bad about somebody, right?
לא, אפילו גם פשוטו.
But what is the word nega? Nega means what? An affliction. The word nega, you flip it around, what does it become? Oneg. What's the difference? Between nega and oneg, what's the difference? Because what? Where it's in a different place.
Exactly, how you see it.
The ayin.
Yeah.
If it's in the beginning, it's oneg. If ayin is at the end, it's going to be nega. Why? What's the difference? It's all how you view things. If you really love somebody, right? Person real has love for somebody. No matter what they do, you're always going to find a reason. And it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. You have a little kid.
Good reason.
Yeah, and everything always is...
אתה לא רואה את הלא טוב.
Exactly.
אתה רואה רק את זה.
Exactly. How is your eye set up? So tzarat gives you nega. What is the nega? It's the coming to tell you your eyes are not viewing well. Your eyes are not looking well.
You need glasses. You need
Ah,
glasses.
that's why the Gemara in Erechin tells us, one of the reasons why tzarat comes is tzarat ayin. What happens? L'halacha. If a person had nega tzarat on his bayit tefnuga, what do you have to do?
So,
When the Kohen comes,
Huh?
when the Kohen comes to say it is or it's not, what do they do first?
הסגירו את הבית.
What does that mean?
מסגיר אותו, לראות אם זה...
Close the house.
Before they close the house.
Go out.
Tzion tells us, they tell him, take everything out of your house.
Yes.
Why they tell him to do that?
Because don't want this to be tameh.
They tell him, Tameh, it only becomes Tameh when the Kohen says it. So he doesn't want to. Chazal tells us, you know why else why he wants to empty the house? Why did he get Tzarat? Because he was a greedy guy. I came to his house.
Everybody should see. What
I
he
told
has.
him, can I borrow this? He says,
don't have.
I don't have.
I don't have.
Can I have this? I don't have. Nothing he has. And now all of a sudden he has a negatzat on his bayit.
Everybody see what he has.
Everything comes out of the house. Everything is now viewed by everybody.
It's like the Mitzrayim.
What's the concept here? What's Dorish V'Kabel Sachar over here? The drasha is, tzarat comes on a house when the house is greedy. There's no real tzarat, right? The Gemara says never was, never will be. But you should know a house is afflicted. It has a nega if the people in the house are greedy. If everyone's always about me, then how are the kids going to grow up? Kids also going to think about me. They're not going to share with their siblings. They're not going to be nice to their parents. And everyone's going to be fighting the whole time because the whole house is about me, about the individual. But a house that's open, as it says in the Pirkei Avot, in this week's Perek, what does it says? Ihi betecha patuach l'revacha for what? V'yu anim b'nei betecha. Your house should be open wide, and the poor people should be members of your house. Chazal tell us how your house is supposed to be. Your house, like we said, we learn everything from our avot. Maaseh avot, siman libanim. Avraham Avinu. How is his house situated? Oh, learn this Midrash. How was Abraham Avinu's house? What was so special about it?
Four sides.
Every side there was a door. Now I'm not telling you to make a door on every side, although some people have that. Okay, but the idea is it's open. It's an open house. People feel welcome to come. People feel welcome to be there. The most important people who should feel welcome to come and be there is your spouse and your children. But also your family members. What type of family is a nice family that you want to have? A family where people come together, cousins come, this comes, and they have the Yom Tavim together, they have Simchais together, or do you want, as a Shalom, a family that the guy's all alone, nobody comes to him because his house is very rich, don't touch it, A house has to be open. Don't close it. Don't have tzarat ayin. Don't be greedy. Don't be worried. They're going to touch this, they're going to touch that, they're going to make that. Listen, it has to be done with seichel. I'm not saying you'll let everyone come into your house and let them break the whole house either. That's also tipshus, right? But it has to be done with seichel. But a house should feel open. It should feel open. It should feel welcoming. 100%. There are certain situations that you shouldn't invite a certain people there. That you cannot do. It has to be done with seichel. It has to be done with seichel. But in the end of the day, the idea is the house should be a welcoming home. It should be a house of helping others. This way, you avoid the tzarat of the house. Okay. Rabbi Belsky, Zecher Tzedek Levracha, brings another idea. We tell a newlywed couple, so a new hatan v'kala, what do we tell them? What's the bracha that we give them? Tisku livnot bayit ne'eman b'Yisrael. We tell them they should be zocheh to build a bayit ne'eman. So we all say this, bayit ne'eman. What do you mean by bayit ne'eman?
Ne'emanim each to other.
So Rabbi Chaim says they should be ne'emanim to each other. They should be loyal to each other. Fine. יש לנו כמה רבים.
לא, אבל לא בברוקלין, יש לך בכיכר העיר, צריך קוראים לו, הרב...
הוא היה תלמיד של הרב עבדיה.
סימנטוב?
לא, הוא היה פה בכל ארצות הברית, הוא היה הרב שם. הרב בברוקלין, לפני שהיה... הרב ישראלי.
ישראלי.
הייתי בחתונה, הוא קם והוא אומר להם, הוא מקדש את החתן כלה. הוא אומר, אני אברך אתכם משהו, ברכה אחת שלא מברכים בדרך כלל. כמו שאתה אמרת, בית נאמן בישראל, הוא אומר, אני אברך אתכם משהו אחר.
מה?
הוא אומר שתשארו, כן, הוא אמר להם שתשתארו שתיכם, כן? יש לך, כמו שאמרת לך, אני לא יודע, אמרתי לך...
זוגיונים. זוגיונים.
לא. תהיו מאורסים כל ימי חייכם.
מאורסים.
Engaged.
למה הוא אומר, כמו שהשם אמר לעם ישראל,
להסליך לי לעולם.
השם לא אמר, חתנתי איתכם בעולם, להסליך לי לעולם. שאומרים, למה מאורסים?
בגלל
אתם מאורסים, אתה מחכה לה כל היום, אתה מחכה לחתונה.
לא רבים.
הוא מחכה לה, שהראו איתי ככה.
שמאורסים לא רבים, אחרי שמתחתנים מתחילים להבין.
שאני אומר, הגעגועים.
He says very good. He says something that we mentioned many times from Rav Pam. Rav Pam would say that when a person gets married, it's not the end of the dating. You know, because when you're engaged, when you're dating and you're engaged, it's exciting and it stays exciting. But you have to keep that always, and that can be possibly an answer. Bayit Ne'eman b'Yisrael is that it should be a house that's reliable on each other. Furthermore, Rav Belsky says, a Bayit Ne'eman b'Yisrael means a house that runs on Torah principles. They ask a Rav. They go to Talmidei Chachamim. They ask to see what to do, how to do, when to do. Everything is done following the Torah. Bayit Ne'eman b'Yisrael. You cannot raise children and tell them, do this, X, Y, and Z, do all these things, and you yourself don't do them. It's never going to work. A bayit ne'eman, are you going to raise proper children? Is where you yourself do everything that you want them to do. Ah, beautiful.
כל ביתי הוא הנאמן. נאמנות. הנאמנות דבר חשוב מאוד בתוך הבית. שיש נאמנות.
That's right. He's reliable. He's responsible. Rabotai, the Gemara in Chulin asks, where is the source? From where do we learn the principle of hazakah? Hazakah means status quo, something that was, is, will be. Where do you learn it from? Yeah, so where do you learn it from?
Feel.
Where do you learn hazakah from? We're in the Torah. Says the Gemara in Chulin. Listen, Rabotai. This is on Daf Yud Omid Bet. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani says, in the name of Rabbi Yonatan, it says in this week's parasha, the Kohen shall go out of the house to the door and shut the house for how many days? 7 days.
1 week.
The Gemara says, how does he know that when he closes the house, it stays the same? Maybe right before he closed it, it got bigger, it got smaller. How does he know that it's going to stay the same?
How's it going to get bigger?
Perhaps when he comes to the door, the nega already got smaller. How do we assume that it stays? So says the Gemara, this is the source for hazakah. The source of hazakah is that the Kohen sees it, and for the next 7 days we say it's the same. We don't look to see it's changing next second.
The Kohen, he's the one determined from his mouth. It's a tzarat or
Yes,
it's not a tzarat.
but when we're not sure, when we're not yet sure.
אפילו שזה לא צרת. בדיוק. הוא קובע. הכהן קובע.
So the Gemara says, the fact that the Kohen can close the door and he's not looking back to see if it changed and it changed, that shows you hazakah. Says Rabelsky, here's a very important yesod when it comes to a house. Something that's broken won't fix itself. There's a hazakah. Something went wrong, right? If the electricity goes off, you cannot just say, I'm going to go sleep tomorrow morning, it's going to be back. It's not, right? If something went wrong in the house, the wires you were fixing and it went wrong, going to sleep, waking up the next morning is not going to fix it.
If it broke,
If the window breaks, you cannot go to sleep and say, tomorrow morning is going to get better.
Right.
Hazakah, it stays bad. Once something goes wrong, it stays bad. How is that important for us? If you find something in the house that is not so good, right? Something went wrong, you cannot close your eyes to it. Some people like to close their eyes. I don't see anything. I don't see it.
Under the carpet.
Altazoi, he hides it under the carpet. Then he makes sure he doesn't see anything. And he thinks everything's okay. It's never okay. Now, you have to have seichel. Sometimes you don't say anything. But it doesn't mean you don't know what's happening. It doesn't mean you don't work on it. Just because I don't tell the kid why you're doing this doesn't mean I want him to continue. It has to be done the right way. Rav Belsky is teaching us here when it comes to houses, when it comes to families, you have to work on it. You cannot just say, it's going to get better. Something has to be done about it. And just, agav, when you have children in school, right? When the school calls you and says, the kid is doing this, kid's doing that. So, what should be the proper response? They can't say, your son is making a balagan, making a whole baradak in the school. What are you going to do? You have to say, I'm going to talk to him, I'm going to work with him, we're going to do something. Some parents start to fight, you don't know how to take care of him, this, that. It's your fault. The idea is, something went wrong, that's fine. Kids are kids. They're going to make mistakes. Our job as parents is to fix it, to help them. Not necessarily fix the problem, but to help them fix the problem. Okay?
אומר לו, הרב שלי בבית ספר נתן לי עונש, אמר לו, אם הוא נתן לך עונש, תקבל עוד אחד. אם הוא באמת, אתה באמת בעייתי. היום לא, היום נתן לך עונש, הולכים לרב.
עם אקדח.
כן.
הילד עלה לקאונטר. אמרתי לו, תשמע, עלית לקאונטר, זה מסוכן. אתה נופל מהקאונטר, גם אני אתן לך מכות. לא מספיק שתקליף נפל, תגיד לו, גם ניתן לך. מה עלית?
Now, Rabotai, what happens if the Kohen comes and he says the house has tzarat? What do they do at this time? So the pasuk says,
No, they have to take the tzara only from the place.
"V'tziva hakohen
Only the place.
v'chiletzu et ha'avanim asher behen hanaga
הנגה, exactly.
v'hishlichu ethein מחוץ לעיר מקום טמא."
קודם כל, איפה שיש צרה, מוצאים את האבנים. אחר כך אם זה מתחיל להתפשט,
כל הבית.
מורידים את כל
Then what does the pasuk say? Skip one pasuk. It says, "V'lakchu avanim acherot
האחרות.
והביאו אל תחת האבנים,
Yeah.
ועפר אחר ייקח ותח את הבית."
Right.
So he brings others.
New.
Okay, but let's read the lashon again.
Everything new.
ולקחו אבנים אחרות והביאו
תחת.
אל תחת האבנים. What's ולקחו אבנים אחרות והביאו? What is that lashon rabim or lashon yachid? Rabim.
לקחו
אבנים.
Now.
אבנים is רבים.
ועפר אחר ייקח ותח את הבית.
זה כבר ביחיד.
So why did the pasuk change it?
Because ייקח.
Why is it going lashon rabim to lashon yachid? Why is it changing? So listen to what the Rosh Hashiva says. Rosh Hashiva says as follows: if a home is damaged, there are many people who could be called upon to come and help fix it. And many people can come. But the small cracks, when it comes to fill up the small cracks, sealing the home, protecting the home from outside negative influences, that only the Baal Habayit can do. People can help. They can bring you big stones. But the fine details, that's only the Baal Habayit. You have to do the finishing touches. No one else can do it. And a house can be built of strongest stone, says the Rosh Hashiva. But if the holes are not plugged, if you leave openings in the holes, the cold, the damp, the water, everything comes in.
Sorry, it's not the finish. I think what the Rosh Hashiva is saying, if you have a big problems, you have to bring a lot of people with Avarim Doro to fix it. But cracks, it's a small one, you yourself you can fix it.
No, you're right. But even more, he's saying, even after you get the outside help, it's still up to you to seal it in, to finish it. It's not enough you get outside help. Outside help is very good, but that's the beginning. That's the big stuff. Your job is to finish it and complete all the small parts. And the Mishnah says your neighbor is not required to help you with plastering the stones in. They help you bring the stones, but the rest of it is up to you. And that's very important in everything in life. You can get help from others. People will help you. But people can only get you up to a certain point. The rest of it is you. Right? The Rabbeinu Yonah says, no matter how much musar you give a person, if the person doesn't wake himself up to do something about it, it's not going to help. You can help.
He has to be mekabel.
Exactly the same point over here.
מקבל.
So Abutai,
מקבל לא יעזור שום דבר.
now we can understand.
גם עצמו, חייב לקבל, בטח.
לא, אני אומר, אם אתה נותן מוסר לילד, והילד לא מוכן לקבל, אתה יכול לתת לו עוד פעם, הוא לא מוכן לקבל, נכנס לפה יוצא לי.
כמו שאמרתי, השמש נותנת חום. עכשיו, היא נותנת חום גם לירח. השמש יכולה גם שם לתת חום, למה רק לכדור הארץ? הוא אומר שהכדור הזה, כדור הארץ, יש לו קיבול. יש לו, הוא יכול לקבל לו כלי.
You can take something.
כלי קיבול. כשיש לך כלי קיבול, אתה מקבל את הדבר הטוב. שם אין כלי קיבול. והשמש לא מגיעה, ששם הכפור. כי אין לו פה, הוא יכול לחמם גם את הירח, למה הוא לא מחמם את הירח? המרחקים לא כל כך גבוהים בין הירח לבין הכפר אותו דבר. אין כלי קיבול. גם הבן אדם אין לו כלי קיבול,
אמת.
לא יקבל כלום, יקלס פה.
That's right. He has to be accepting it. So Abutai, so now let's go back. So what did the Gemara say? Vay tamnuga lo haya, v'lo atid liyot. ולמה נכתב? דרוש לקבל שכר. He has to be דורש and he has to be מקבל and then he'll get schar, he'll see the benefit of...
בכדור הארץ, מקבלים.
כן,
חיים לקבל.
דרוש מקבל שכר. He has to accept.
אחרי שקיבלת.
כן, that's right. דרוש מקבל, and then שכר. רבותיי, one more idea before we go into the halacha.
למה שאמרת לי, אני, שבבית לא להגיד אני.
כן.
יש זה בשיר השירים.
כן.
כתוב בשיר השירים, כתוב פה, אני שינה וליבי ער, כל דודי דופק. מישהו בא לה...
Someone's at the door.
כן. עכשיו הוא אומר, הפשט קוטונתי, איך הלבשן, איך אני אתלבש עכשיו, איך
Right.
עצלן.
ואני שלח ידו מן החור ומעי אמור עליו, מוכן מהחור, תפתחי לי את הדלת. קמתי אני לפתוח לדודי. וידע נטפו מור ואצבעתה מור עבר על כפות המעול, פתחתי אני לדודי, אני. ודודי חמק עבר.
He already
כשאתה
lied.
מדבר, לא מצאתי ולא מצאתי.
So it's only when it's אני, כולם מעבירים.
אני קמתי, אני עשיתי. עכשיו אני כבר לא פה.
Wow, כל הכבוד. Here, Ravi brought a beautiful psukim from Shir HaShirim, where the person kept saying me, and in the end, the spouse walks away.
כשהוא בא לדלת הוא כבר לא שם.
Because the only reason why he was lazy, because he was thinking about himself. If he would have thought about the spouse needs to get into the door, he would have jumped up right away to open it.
קמתי, למה הוא אומר אני?
Because he's thinking about himself. He's lazy. He doesn't want to do it. So, I'm tired. I want to get dressed. I don't want to do anything.
Avi is not Sfaradi, he's Temani.
Temani.
Not Sfaradi.
With a flavor. I will tell you, there is another Gemara, a Masechet Sanhedrin, that also talks about this week's parasha, and also about the Beit HaMnugah, about the house that gets sarat. Listen to this Gemara. Here we are. 1 second. We're on Daf Nun Bet Amud Aleph, and the Gemara says as follows: Va'amar Rabbi Elazar le'olam heve kavel v'kayam.
Have what?
Kavel.
Kabel?
Kuf vet lamed.
Kabel. Have kabel.
Kavel. Okay? Heve kavel v'kayam.
חבר יבחש בסוף? חבר?
Kavel. Kuf. Kavel. And Rashi can explain it means dark. It means a person should be dark. Now, Rabbi Elazar, le'olam heve kavel v'kayam. Amar Bizera, af anan nami tenina. We also learned this. How do we learn it? From this week's parasha. What does the pasuk say? The pasuk says that when the Kohen shows up, uva asher lo habayit v'higid la Kohen. The person comes to the Kohen and he tells him,
Kanega.
Lemor, kenega nir'a li babayit.
Like this.
Like this, nir'a li babayit.
Doesn't say tzara.
So what does the Chazal teach us from over here? First of all, what does it mean? Nir'a, it appeared to me. The Gemara says it has to appear to me on its own. Okay, you have to just look at it itself. Li means to me and not to the light. When the Kohen walks into the house, where there's a possible nega tzarat on the house, he looks at it without any extra light. He doesn't take out his flashlight. He doesn't open the window. Nothing. The way the house is, nir'a li, the way it appears to me, he looks. If he can see it, he says it's tzarat. If the house is too dark, then guess what?
He's not gonna see it.
Then what?
He's not gonna see
Then
it.
what happens to the house?
There's no tzara.
Ain't tzarat.
אפילו שהצהרה.
If you show your tzarat, lama? Because they can't see it. They can't see it. So says Rabbi Elazar, le'olam have kavel v'kayam. That's the same way you should live. Have kavel. Don't be someone that has to be sticking out to the crowd. Your job is to be not noticed. You should be humble. You should be dark. No one has to know it's you, right? By the Kushim, they say, they talk to each other. If you ever have to spend time with them, you should never have to. But if you have to, sometimes you'll see some of them dress very loudly. You know what I mean? To dress loud.
Exactly.
They have these very bright colors.
You know why? They also have huge cars and
Exactly.
very expensive
that
cars.
guy who wants you to look at him, he doesn't have nothing.
Exactly.
Because if he had something, he wouldn't dress loud.
Right. Because
That's what the Gemara is telling us. That's how you're supposed to live in life. You're a humble guy. You're a passion. The Taz, in his time, there was no internet, so you didn't know what he looked like. You lived in his city, you know who he was. And during the pogroms, he was moving around from town to town. Whenever he came to another town, he never told anybody who he was.
right.
He was treated with disrespect. He was screamed at, yelled at, they made fun of, they put him to mecherim. The Taz didn't say anything. Why? He said the best way to serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu is that nobody knows who you are. You just do your business to Hashem. Right? That's right. He doesn't care about the music. He wants you to look at him. That's right. He doesn't care about the music. He wants you to look at him.
You know why? Because he has back in the house, he has nothing. So he has the car and he has his clothing. That's it. Now everybody, everywhere he goes, they think he's a very rich guy. That's what he wants.
So what's important for us? Nobody wants to be checked by a Kadosh Baruch Hu with a microscope. I cannot stand up to it. To Hashem's scrutiny, Hashem should look at me and everything. So what's the best remedy? You should be humble, dark, anav. I'm not. The Orchat Tzadikim said, a person should never say, we said this on Sunday, Orchat Tzadikim said, never say, I have to show everybody what I'm doing. Let everybody see so they can learn from me. Said Orchat Tzadikim, this is the Yetzer Hara talking to you. This is the Yetzer Hara. I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to daven with kavanah. I'm going to make it so loud so everyone can see and they can learn how to be such a great Jew. Orchat Tzadikim said that is the Yetzer Hara talking. And then the Orchat Tzadikim said, what happens next? The Yetzer Hara comes and tells you, don't show off. Don't show off. Don't even daven with kavanah. Daven so fast that nobody even knows you're a tzaddik now. So the other extreme, right? Said Orchat Tzadikim, what's the proper way to do it? You do your business. You have to pray. You don't pray for them to look at you. You don't daven so they see how you're mitpalel. You don't learn so they see how you learn. You learn to learn for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You pray, you get tzedakah because that's your mitzvah to do. Not for him to see, not for her to see, not for them to know. Okay.
פתאום אתה רואה אנשים, באמצע התפילה, חזרת השעה, לומדים גמרא, מעיינים, למה אתה מעיין עכשיו? תעיין אחרי התפילה, אתה בתפילה.
אני רואה אנשים...
אתה מכיר את זה? אחרי התפילה הם מוכנים לה, דקה הוא נשאר, הולך. התפילה הוא מעיין.
אבי, אני רואה אנשים...
מה שהוא אומר, אל תראה, אל תעשה שום.
אני... אבי, אני רואה אנשים בשמע ישראל. אנשים אומרים שמע ישראל, פתאום שמע ישראל הוא פותח זה, שמע ישראל. מה יש לך בלגמרא?
זה מה שהוא אומר, אתה בא לצוות תתפלל, זה הזמן.
That's it. Your job is to pray. Now, and that's what we're saying. Shows are not good. Never put up shows. Be honest. Do your job. Do it correctly. Do it lishma. Do it with kavanah, but not for them, not for that guy, because it's the right thing to do. Now, regarding learning during tefillah, especially during chazara, it's very problematic. There's a kuntrus that I was davening in Beit 24, and there was a sefer on the table I forgot the title of the sefer, but it was all a sefer about how not to learn during the time of tefillah. And obviously I picked it up during tefillah, but I put it back down. Once I saw it was about, I said, let me put it back down. But then I have never a chance to read it because I'm not there again. But it's important that during tefillah, and even during the hazara, is that you have to pay attention. And there are those who say the Hazarah is even greater than the Lahash. And a person has to take advantage of it and not do other things. It could be problematic. Now, Avraham Avinu brought to the world the idea of one God. Avraham Avinu, the biggest Baal Hesed. Avraham Avinu with the 4 entrance to his house, like we said. What did Avraham Avinu, when he talked about himself, what did he say who he was?
Afar va'efer.
Afar va'efer.
V'anachnu ma, v'ani tolad.
V'anachnu ma, zemi. V'anachnu ma, who said?
אני אומר לך את כל 3 המקומות.
Okay.
afar va'efer.
Say who? No, say...
משה, נהרון, אנחנו מה?
אנחנו מה?
ואנוכי תולד דוד.
דוד אמר.
אבל תולעת יש לה ערך, עפר ואפר יש לו איזה ערך, להפך, אבל אנחנו מה?
אין לו.
זה כלום.
לא, שום דבר.
אפילו ההפך.
זה משה.
And 1 second. And Moshe Rabbeinu was Ne'eman. B'chol beito, Moshe Rabbeinu was the highest.
השם זה only of Moshe Rabbeinu.
Moshe Rabbeinu went up to Shemayim. How many times?
How many times? 2, at least 2.
3 times, no?
3 times.
3 times, twice for the Luchot, and 1 time for Kapara. So Moshe Rabbeinu goes up. No one else. I didn't go up. No one. And Moshe Rabbeinu was V'anachnu ma. Avraham Avinu was so great. Anochi Afar va'efer. David HaMelech, King David. Right? Why? They didn't just say it, by the way. It wasn't just lip service. They didn't just say it to stop say things. That's the way they felt. Why? Because why would a person, why would somebody like David HaMelech say he's a worm? Why would Moshe Rabbeinu say he's nothing? Why would Avraham Avinu B'chaim, why would he say I'm dust and ashes?
Because they're great.
No.
Only a great person can say it.
Say more.
Only a great person can say, I'm still missing a lot.
Why? Why could he say that?
Because he's enough. I don't know why.
Why is he on a what bigger in him makes understand that? The bigger you are, the bigger you are, the more you understand that Kadosh Baruch Hu, the more you understand that Kadosh Baruch Hu, the more you realize I'm nothing. Who thinks he's something? Somebody that doesn't have Havana means that Kadosh Baruch Hu. Somebody who knows what Kadosh Baruch Hu is, who gets more and more to understanding, he realizes how far, how puny, how nothing I am. Someone who walks around, Bal Ga'ava, his nose is in the air, is somebody who doesn't know who Hashem is. That's why he's so big and pompous and everything. But somebody who realizes the greatest of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moshe Rabbeinu, who is the closest to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moshe Rabbeinu says, V'anachnu ma, what are we? In comparison to Melech Malchei Amlachim, we're nothing. Anna, very good. You see, Rabbi got it on the nail, right on the nail. Avodah is to know Hashem more. The more you know Hashem, the more you can become an Anav. The more you will be humble, the more you realize everything's by Kadosh Baruch Hu. Who's the winner in the world? Someone gets into a fight with somebody. Who's the winner? You get. Let's use a house. The husband and the wife, they get into a machloket. Who is the winner? The one who is stronger, Bitzion says. The one who stays back. What happens? You win the war. I fought with my wife. I won. I won the argument. But the war I lost, because now she doesn't like me. Now she's going to be more upset with me. Now I've lost even more. But the Anav, what happens? Quiet. Okay. They get back together. Shalom. Everybody's happy. Shalom Yisrael. Everything's good. Rav Pam would teach his students very important lessons, especially those who went into becoming rabbis, into becoming rebbes, and becoming people in Klal Yisrael. He told them, someone fights with you, your job, just keep quiet. Just keep quiet. Imagine, someone is screaming at the rabbi in the shul, and the rabbi starts screaming back. Now you have a screaming match. It doesn't look good for the rabbi. It doesn't look good for the Talmid Chacham. Even if he's not right, even if the rabbi is right and the other guy's wrong. But since the rabbi is screaming back and the Talmud Chacham is screaming back, it's lo tov, it's lo tov. The rabbi keeps quiet. And even though the rabbi is wrong, but everybody sees how the other guy's screaming at him and the Talmid Chacham was quiet, who do they have more respect for in their eyes?
The other guy.
To the rabbi who kept quiet. He didn't say anything. Even though he was right, even though he was wrong. Because everybody knows screaming, yelling is never appropriate.
Especially in the shul.
Especially in the shul. But people scream bedafka in the shul. They think they're doing it, let's say mitzvah. I'm doing it, I'm going to scream, I'm going to yell, I'm going to show. They did absolutely nothing right.
כתוב שהרב לא יענה ולא יתווכח, אבל כתוב שהציבור צריך... הציבור צריך לנחות באדמה.
See, Ravi says it I'm very happy you're here. Because I can't say that, but he said very important. If you see them screaming at the rabbi, the tzibur has to say, "Alo, this is not appropriate here."
But sometimes, also for the kitzibur, it's not good to say anything because it's going to be a fight.
So someone has to tell him.
Because you have to know with who you are.
100% also.
If it's a guy, like we said before, Mekabel, then you said to him, and then Mekabel, everything is
100%.
But if he's not Mekabel, oy vavoy.
כי זה לא כבוד הרב, זה כבוד שמיים.
אני מבין.
הרב לא יכול למחול גם.
אבל יש אנשים לא מסתכלים על
כבוד
שום
התורה,
דבר.
כבוד התורה. התורה שיש ברב הזה.
המציאות של המוסד. אתה אומר מה שנכון. אבל הוא אומר לך מציאות.
יש אנשים...
לא יכול רק לפתוח את הפה. כי אתה escalate.
So it has to be done with seichel. It has to be done with seichel. Somebody who's a repeat offender, meaning he does it today, he does it again tomorrow, he does it again the next day. The tzibur needs to take him aside and needs to talk to him. Oh, this is not respect to the shul. It's not respect to the place. Okay.
Not in the same time. Different.
Right? Depends. But sometimes you have to stop him right there also, depending on what the situation is.
Yes, depends.
We're not going to say, do it this way, do it that way. But the process is important. Whoever is getting screamed at needs to be mivater, needs to be anav. He should know when he does that, he has the power to give berachot, he has the power to reach so much things. And it's not easy, by the way. Especially when you're right. And especially when you can answer this guy back very well. And you can show him why he's so foolish for saying something. That person has to hold himself back. And he'll be rewarded many, many more times more. Chafetz Chaim, you know, he's very famous for wearing that cap. Right? You know that cap was not a special cap. That's what the Bachram would wear.
Oh yeah, I thought it's for a fisherman.
It was a fisherman cap. It was a cap that wasn't for the rabbis. The Chafetz Chaim wore it all his life almost. He was anav. Chafetz Chaim wrote so many sfarim. People knew who he was, but he was anav all his life. They say that when he wrote the Sefer Shmirat HaLashon, the Av Betin of Novardok, Rabbi Baruch Mordechai Lipshe, read the book all about Shmirat HaLashon, and he said to his students, I don't know if this guy is real. I mean, he's writing such a good book, but can anyone be so careful? So he sent his students to go test the Chafetz Chaim. They dressed up as regular people, and they tried to ask him questions, to talk about somebody, talk about this, talk about that. And Chafetz Chaim never broke character, and the whole time he was able to steer all the conversations in different ways. You know, one time they saw that the Chafetz Chaim, he was reading articles about horses. So someone once asked the Chafetz Chaim, why are you reading articles in the newspaper about horses? He says, I know, I have to. That's right. He said, I have to read about horses because when they start speaking Lashon Hara, I speak about horses. Everyone starts talking about horses. No more Lashon Hara. Right? I can't tell them a Tosefot, they're not going to want to hear it. Can't tell them a Mishnah Berurah, they're not going to want to hear it. But if I talk to them about, so what for us, L'mashal? Cars. People like talking about cars. Shtick a little about sports. A little bit about, say, Trump and other things are problematic. You can get into Lashon Hara. You can get into Lashon Hara about other people as well. You can get into the mix. But a person who could be smart, he can talk about things that, can steer people away from Lashon Hara. It has to be done with Chokhmah. A person has to prepare for that. I want to end over here on the Hashkafa portion. and now to do a little bit in halakha, Rabotai. This comes from this beautiful sefer, Kiran Halakha, and Rabbi Aryeh Leibowitz over here. We're going to look at two topics. So we have we have two parashot this week, right? What's the parashas? Tazria, Metzora. Okay, the first parashat, the Bibli Israel, Lemor Isha Ki Tazria, Velada Zachar, and she gives birth to a boy. Here is a question in halakha, Rabotai. A woman comes over to the Rav, and says, I'm pregnant and I have to give birth soon. But I don't want to, wait for my water to break. And my doctor is ready to induce me. And this way I can plan the birth. I can have it on a Sunday. I can have it on a Saturday night. I can have more people around to help me. Right? Halachically, can a woman with her doctor decide to induce a labor for convenience? For convenience. What do you mean? She's at full term, let's say. She's at full term. All right, let's go through the sources.
זאת אומרת שלה, צריכה ללדת.
היא לא עברה את הזמן, הגיע הזמן, עכשיו הגוף, כל אישה יש לו גוף אחר. יש אישה שהיא יולדת אחרי שבוע.
To induce, not to shorten it, but to... Reb Zion, explain to what induce. Induce means to start, to take it out.
לזרז את הלידה.
כן, השאלה...
הוא שואל אם מותר לעשות במיוחד. כלומר, בידיים. מה זה בידיים? להגיד לרופא, תן לי זריקה שאני אגמור עם הלידה הזאת. הוא שואל אם זה מותר לעשות את זה.
Okay, so Rav Zilberstein,
דעת תורה.
Rav Zilberstein in Torah Hayoledet writes that he's been told that in America, many women induce labor on Shabbat. This way, they can have a brit. They started on Shabbat, and they have the baby right after Shabbat, and then they'll have the brit on Sunday. They go into the hospital on Shabbat. The doctors start to give them the meds right before Shabbat ends. Shabbat ends, they have the birth, and now the brit's on Sunday, and all the mishpacha can come. They go to the hospital on Shabbat. Motzei Shabbat, the baby comes. This way, they make the brit on Sunday. Sunday, all the mishpacha comes. Everybody's there. Pictures, photography, catering. So he said people doing this. And he said, Rav Zilberstein said this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable Chalul Shabbat to come in and to induce it on purpose like that. Rav Moshe, Igrish Moshe in Yeridea 274, he says there's three problems with inducing. First of all, he says, the longer the baby stays in the mother, it's better for the baby.
It's against the nature.
Learn Torah more, it's healthier for the baby develops more. Rav Moshe also says, Rav Moshe says also that perhaps going into labor, is a sakana. And you're not allowed to put somebody into sakana. That's one reason. But then he says,
The body of a person is different.
But then Rav Moshe says, really, maybe childbirth is not sakana, because it's derech hateva. That's the way people give birth.
Only if it's derech hateva.
Then Rav Moshe says even more. Women don't have a mitzvah of pru'urvu. It's not on the isha. It's on the man. So says Rav Moshe, it cannot be that the woman has to do a non-mitzvah and has to be put in makom sakana. So it must be it's not a sakana.
Excuse me, but this is done already. This is not pru'urvu. The baby is there already.
Okay, so then Rav Moshe says, so listen. So then Rav Moshe says, So then Rav Moshe says, now perhaps it's not a sakana only on the time the baby's supposed to come. That's a special Sha'at Torah, right? The baby's supposed to come, so it's Mesugelet for the baby, for the mother, it's going to work out well. But if you induce and you make it come out earlier, maybe you're putting it into real sakana, and since it's not the Sha'ah for it to happen, so maybe she won't have an extra mazal to protect her. So that Moshe says that's also a problem.
You know what I'm saying? A minute, can I say something?
Yeah.
I'm saying like the same thing, like nobody knows when he's going, only Hashem knows.
Right.
Same thing when a baby comes, only Hashem knows, and you have to let the nature to do its thing.
100%. Rav Sternbach says similarly, or the Minchas Elazar brings this down as well. The Arizal, they came to the Arizal, and they asked, the woman was pregnant, if you can write a kameya that she should give birth early. And the Arizal said no. He said because the baby's mazal is supposed to be when the baby's born.
Exactly.
And if you're going to change the times, you're changing the baby. And it's not supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be born under a certain mazal, on a certain day and a certain stuff.
Certain hour.
The Stipler Gaon was against inducing labor. When they asked the Stipler Gaon for someone who was having to give birth and is already past the time, and they asked the Stipler, can we induce? He said no. He said what you should do is you should stimulate birthing in the mother. Touch her in certain ways, right? The same way the baby will suck from the mother. If you touch that and you stimulate the mom, she actually may give birth. That's what the sigula that Rav Stipler gave, and that's also found in medical research. That stimulating the oxytocin in the mother via the breast leads to the baby coming out. So that was the Stipler says, don't induce, but rather stimulate. Rav Stern, on the other hand, he said, listen, you can't bring any proofs from earlier. Because in the times of Chazal, there was no real way of inducing labor like we induce today.
They had medicine.
But not the way we induce with a shot.
Exactly.
So he says you can't really
to drink something.
So he says you can't really prove from there. Rabbi Yashiv says the same thing, born against his will. You don't want to make someone born against his will. So far, a lot of poskim don't want you to induce labor. However, the Chazon Ish was approached by a woman who was 2 weeks overdue and asked if it's okay to induce labor. So the Chazon Ish said yes. He said yes, that's the common policy. It's sakana, it's going to stay longer. Now you induce it. Rav Zilberstein was asked another question. The woman's doctor is going away. And she wants the doctor to deliver the baby.
Exactly.
So can she do it or not? Induce it. Because the doctor's going on vacation next week. Can. Not necessarily Shabbos. Before Shabbos, during the week. He's going to vacation next week. She's due next week. He's not here. She wants to induce it this week. Can she do it? So Rav Zilberstein said, if it's a high-risk pregnancy, right, and then you need the doctor there, then fine. But if it's a normal pregnancy, you don't really need that doctor there, then you shouldn't. But he brings down that others held, no, or others held that if having that doctor there is a calming effect to her, right, even if it's a normal pregnancy, but she'll be more calm if that doctor is there. She wants this doctor.
Helps.
So that might help, and that might be permissible as well.
Yeah. Because she's in a lot of nervous.
Right. Rav Schachter, Rav Hashel Schachter gives a blanket answer, and he says this is the thing: any legitimate medical reason, one would be allowed to induce labor. So as long as you have a legitimate medical reason.
Talking about inducing is when she is already have the tzireh leda. It means if it's a beginning or something. If she has nothing and to induce, That's I don't know.
That's what he was saying. It depends on the situation. If it's over, and you want to do it loosely, because the baby stays there.
Right, that's what the Chazanian said also.
2 weeks is a long, it's already overdue. Long overdue.
She doesn't have a labor. She's not coming to labor. So
Right.
So, in the end of the day, if there's a legitimate medical reason, then poskim will allow you to induce labor. One more issue when it comes to inducing labor. There's a machloket poskim. If a baby was born via inducing labor on Shabbat, can you be doche Shabbat for the brit? So he says no. Rav Henkin, I believe, held like that also. The baby was born via inducing. They gave the medicine, and the baby was born on Shabbat.
Yeah, so
Is it doche Shabbat? Brit milah is doche Shabbat or not? כן, נולד ביום שבת. So it's machloket poskim. Some say no. But the Rov poskim, like Avi and Tzion said, is born on Shabbat. And the truth is, today, when you come into the hospital and you're already in labor, they give you a shot to make your labor go faster.
if you are on labor.
They give you.
Yeah.
They give you Pitocin. Right. So Rav Henkin said if you use anything, any drug to make the baby come out, it's not Doche Shabbat. But the truth is that today, everybody who goes into the hospital to give birth, they give them Pitocin, which helps them give birth. So according to Rav Henkin, you can never have a Shabbat brit, but most poskim do not hold it. Rav poskim say you're born on Shabbat via regular way of giving birth, then the brit will be on Shabbat.
How we can say something like this if it says in the Torah במיוחד ביום השמיני? We have a few places ביום השמיני או ביום השביעי או... בדיוק, חייב להיות באותו זמן. בגלל שנתנו לו זריקה ושזה לדחות? Sisha is different.
I'm not sure.
You are opening yourself.
I don't know. I don't know if you do it at all. I don't know.
We're talking about regular.
But okay, one last thing I would say, and we're going to end with this. And this is really a big topic, and it's not easy to answer in the next 3 minutes, but it's an important topic to keep to mind. Parshat Tazria Metzora deals with Lashon Hara, right? Lashon Hara, the Gemara says, one of the reasons why you get sarat. What's important in Lashon Hara is especially when it comes to Shidduchim. Lashon Hara in Shidduchim. Can a person speak certain things when they ask him about a person? They ask you about the girl. They ask you about the boy.
That's a big thing.
Can you say the truth or no?
Can you say or can you not? Or how can you say is the real answer?
Right.
So I don't have the time to go through it. It's a big arichas.
It's also a big topic.
It's a big topic, but I want you to say as follows. Understand? You cannot lie. Meaning, if something's there, it has to be said, but you have to know how to say it.
If you tell the truth,
And why not?
No.
If that shidduch would lead to shalom bayit problems for the rest of their lives, you have no permission to lie and let them get married.
No.
But at the same time, if it's something small and the guy changed, you don't have to tell him what he did when he's 7 years old, that he flooded the toilet in the bathroom in the shul and he made a whole balagan. Okay? There's seichel that has to be used. Bezat Hashem, we'll have some time. We'll go into it in arichas at a later
I
time.
heard
Yeah.
if the other side asks you the question, you have to say the truth. But if they don't ask you, and you have to come by yourself,
So I'll give you one last rule in this. Don't be fast to say something negative.
yeah.
Don't be fast to say something negative. And if you have to say something negative, you say the least. If you have any questions, call a Rav and say, I'm put in this predicament. I don't know how to answer. Tell them I'll get back to you. I can't talk right now. And get back to them when you have a solid answer of how to reply.